We have another take on our conversation regarding freedom of speech and censorship by big tech companies that ban users or posts that they deem unacceptable on social media, especially when it comes to politics. As I mentioned in my interview with Senator Grassley, the First Amendment protects Americans from government censorship, not censorship of private entities. It's their platforms, after all, and their rules. I'm bringing in Adam Mason from the other side of the political aisle on this, who is the director for CCI, Citizens for Community Improvement, based out of Des Moines. They're a grassroots liberal organization that promotes progressive and Democrat-based policies. Is that fair to say, Adam?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. And
where do you see big tech in this debate?
well, as you mentioned, has a role to play in ensuring free speech, but also to ensure safe speech. And one of the things that we're seeing right now is an attempt by those in power to silence individuals, whereas tech companies have a role to ensure a safe space for our debate.
So as I was speaking with Senator Grassley, and I've heard other conservatives say that it's very hypocritical what has been done, and that liberals will agree with Twitter as long as it's a conservative who gets shut out. Do you agree with that, or how do you respond to that?
No, I would respond to that by saying, that what we're not responding to, we're not being hypocritical. What we're responding to is really seeking an assurance that information that is put out there is that we can trust the information that's put out there, and that people aren't using these platforms to further the things like hate speech or to further disinformation and misinformation that fuels a distrust in our government.
Let me talk to you personally about social media. How much do you use it, and what are your thoughts on Facebook, on Twitter? I know personally, I try to stay off of that stuff as much as possible, just because my job is so entrenched in politics and picking apart these issues and staying neutral. And then I get accused when I talk to a liberal by conservatives by giving you a voice and giving you a platform, and then vice versa. And that gets so hard. So I stay off of social media. What are your thoughts?
Well, part of the work that I do too is just working with folks from around the state, community members, and because of lots of reasons, because of the pandemic, and just by the nature of how separated we are today, a lot of these social media platforms like Facebook, like Twitter, have become the community forums that we have conversations in. Now, it's super important that we also make sure that we are monitoring how our community interacts in those spaces, and that's why we need to have some guidelines, some rules that ensure, again, safety, transparency, and protect community members in these spaces.
Adam, so many people, and you know this, agree with the term stolen election. There are a lot of people who believe that it was stolen. And then there are those who say that is just downright false and a lie, therefore it should be removed. And that's where things get so hairy or we get stuck in the weeds, because what some people believe as truth, and they say they have the facts to back it up, the other side says there are no facts, and that's where this gets so hard.
That's absolutely right. And again, I would say that that's one reason that, as tech companies and social media companies create these online spaces, they really do have a duty to monitor the conversations that are happening, to prevent the further spread of disinformation, to prevent the spread of lies. The debate used to be about whether or not it was okay to walk into a crowded theater and yell fire if there wasn't in fact a fire, right? Now, today what we're facing is really the same question, just amplified by millions and millions, if not billions of people. And you have, bots and other tech influences from around the globe trying to influence the information that we have access to and really shaping that conversation. So we need to be much more careful in guiding that conversation.
And that's where I want to continue with this conversation. Give me 2 minutes. I've got to take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll talk about policies, regulation, and where your group stands on that. Give me just 2 minutes. In our final segment tonight, I'm continuing the conversation on the debate over what many call censorship when social media giants like Twitter or Facebook ban users for violating their policies. They are private companies who are not bound by the law of the Constitution's definition of freedom of speech, something that has gotten blurred by a lot of people in this debate. Free speech, hate speech, are lies being perpetuated. Well, Adam Munson is with CCI, Iowa Citizens for Community Improvement, a liberal action fund that pushes for political policies within the state of Iowa. And before the break, Adam, we were talking about furthering this by talking about regulation. The internet and the laws around the internet continue to evolve because there weren't laws established 100 years ago, obviously, for this. So what do you see coming down the pipeline with big tech companies when it comes to lawmakers regulating?
Well, and this is truly one of the great things about our country's Constitution is that it is constantly evolving as our country does. And so as we continue to see social media and the tech industry itself be a primary community space for lots and lots of conversations, especially about politics and how our government works, we're going to continue to see elected officials and our regulatory agencies need to play a role in ensuring that we are providing a safe and productive space to have these kinds of conversations in.
How long have you been involved in being an activist, in being within the political realm of trying to get lawmakers' attention, voters' attention on various issues?
So I've been a community organizer, working with communities across the state of Iowa and working on elections for nearly 20 years now. And during that time, I've seen the reliance of this kind of work on community building and on political advocacy really increase with the speed of the conversations that we can have because of social media.
And that's where I wanted to go with this, because if you've been doing this for 20 years, I wasn't sure if it was 5 or 20 or whatever, 10 years ago, you had to do mailings. You had to knock on doors. You had to call meetings and put the word out in a way that wasn't nearly as easy as it is today. So in so many aspects, it's made our lives easier, but it's complicated things.
That's absolutely right. Well, it may seem like it's just a silver bullet to be able to jump online and to send out an email or a Facebook post or a tweet that's going to reach thousands of people. That also comes with some responsibility to make sure that what we're putting out there is accurate, that is true, and that we are guiding the conversation in an ethical way.
You are a respectable person. I am so glad we were able to have this piece of the conversation as well. I try to have both sides of the aisle represented when we talk about something that is very controversial. So please tell me that you'll join me again as we talk about something else, because there are lots of issues we can talk about, sir.
I would look forward to having another conversation again as soon as you'll have me back.
I love it. Thank you, Adam.